Welcome to Frame of Reference, informed, intelligent conversations about the issues and challenges facing everyone in today's world. In-depth interviews to help you expand and inform your frame of reference. Now here's your host, Raul Labreche.
Well, welcome to another edition of the podcast, Frame of Reference, Profiles in Leadership. If you did not mean to listen to Frame of Reference, well, then I'm sorry. But you really ought to stick around because we've got a wonderful guest today. And my welcome is usually not that effervescent, but you'll understand in a moment when I introduce our guest. I am sitting across the screen from Andy McNeill, who has a heart for hospitality. Excuse me, Andy, but when I think of hospitality, I think of Mrs. Potts singing, "Be our guest, be our guest." And, that just, that gets me going in a very, positive direction right away.
Love it. I love it.
But after 30 years of working in the industry, he has helped literally thousands of organizations build stronger relationships through shared human experience. And Lord knows we need some shared human experiences more than ever. He's a successful entrepreneur and the founder of AMI, which is American Meetings Incorporated. Is that correct?
Incorporated, yeah, AMI.
And which is a global hospitality and market that elevates, I love that, it elevates the corporate meetings to the next level, which, again, that many companies could, and as well as individuals. And Andy has helped thousands of businesses and Fortune 500 companies travel to unique, once-in-a-lifetime destinations like destination weddings, but business-oriented. And AMI operates in a 100-plus company, works on global scale with the world's top brands like, you might have heard a couple of these, Salesforce, Mars, candy bars, one of my favorites, especially this time of year.
Kit Kats, baby, yep.
Yeah, there you go. Pepsi Cola, Pfizer, CVS Health, little companies that no one probably knows about, but trust me, they're big deals. So, Andy, thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for sharing your expertise with my audience, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, Raul, thanks for allowing me the time to share our vision and just have a conversation today with you about leadership and hospitality and how they intersect.
And that we will. And as I talked a little bit before we got going to, how I like to start things out is a little exercise called My Favorite Things. And if I were Julie Andrews, I could sing it as beautifully as the title invokes in most people's brains. But I can't, so I won't. And I don't really have the rights to the song either, so I don't want to get myself in trouble right away. But this is a completely Rorschachtian, if that's a word, Rorschachtian conversation, where I will just throw something out there and you just throw out what comes to your mind. If you have to think a little bit, I understand. These might not be questions you're used to thinking about, but it's really all about just getting to know the real. Okay, so here we go. Start out easy. Okay. How about favorite food?
Favorite food? I'm going to have to go with anything Asian. Wonton soup, let's say. Love it.
Okay, my daughter would be all over that. She's found...
My daughter's all over it too.
Really?
That's one of the reasons.
Really?
Yeah, she loves wonton soup.
We have a thing with crab ragoon too. I don't know if your family has a crab ragoon fetish, but that we have a restaurant in the area that makes it.
I wouldn't categorize it as a fetish, but yeah, we eat it on occasion.
Okay,
for sure.
Okay. Lo mein, pot stickers. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
anything?
You got it. Pot stickers. Oh, for sure, pot stickers.
Oh yeah. The grilled, not the boiled too. I'm sorry, but I've got a penchant.
I agree with you on that as well.
So, how about favorite color?
Color, always been blue. Blue with a little kind of green tinge to it, maybe. Okay. I think maybe because I'm born and raised Floridian, and that's the color of the water around here.
Okay.
But definitely something that look at a beautiful green ocean, blue ocean. That's my jam.
Sure. There's a talk that in my background in theater, there's the thing called the green room. And there are a number of different, tales of where that came from. Part of it, the limelights that made actors appear green. But there's also a story that it does have something to do with ocean colors, the green of, plants and how that can be relaxing. And, the funny thing is, though, that I have, I think, seen one green room in my life that actually has any green in it whatsoever.
Yeah, and I've been in a few, but I think, the thing about a green room is it's never relaxing. You're always nervous when you're sitting in a green room. Whenever I'm in one to speak, it's never a relaxing situation.
Yeah,
that's my experience.
There's some blasted stage manager coming in and saying 3 minutes, or whatever.
Exactly.
But how about a favorite band?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with Queen.
Really?
I'm just going to go with Queen. Yeah, okay. I just love Queen. I like because he was in my opinion, Freddie Mercury. He really transcended into almost a poet. Sure. And how he wrote and what he did, but also my age probably puts me in the Queen category. So say Queen.
Well, I grew up I was just getting into college when Queen made it big. So as I remember, so it might have been even later. But We Are the Champions was.
Have you had anybody else say Queen?
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
I've had a lot to be unique. That's good.
A lot of people talk about jazz or country music, or they tend to just kind of keep it generalized. But I've had some people too from overseas to talk about bands I have no idea what they are, or techno music with bands that I have no idea what they're talking about. So that's good too. But so have you been following Queen since they got their new singer too? Since they revitalized, I forget, is it Adam?
I saw. Adam Levine. Not Adam Levine. Adam, the guy from American Idol.
Yeah.
I don't remember his last name.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't.
I saw a documentary on him and how they revitalized Queen, and it was actually pretty fascinating that finding him and his voice. It's similar to Journey's journey in finding the young man that they have. So, and it's interesting because they have carried the song,
I'll
the
have to watch
sound.
That.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. How about a favorite book?
Favorite book. So I'll do my current favorite book because I just find it so. I mean, I'm an avid reader, so I've got probably hundreds of books that I would consider a favorite. But I'm reading the Elon Musk autobiography right now, and it is absolutely fascinating. You get into this guy's head about how he is managing his 6 multi-billion-dollar businesses across the spectrum, from AI to Tesla to Neuralink to the Bohr company, and just understanding, as an entrepreneur myself, understanding the intensity that he operates his businesses in. I've just found fascinating, and I don't think very many of us could operate, if any of us could operate the way he does. But I'm just finding it really fascinating. So if you want a good autobiography read, definitely pick it up. It's a great audiobook.
That must be interesting, too, because he's a person that the media tries to control the narrative of who is Elon Musk.
And he won't let them.
Yeah.
That's why he bought Twitter. He wanted to own the town, as he says.
Yeah, and now he's just said, you know what? It's supposed to be a forum for America and all of its pimples and all of its, realities and whatnot. And we're not going to pretend that these factions don't exist. We're going to let them speak for themselves. I think actually he's been a very courageous man in a lot of ways.
He really, I mean, in so many ways, he's also been such a massive disruptor. And one of the ways he does that is the way he manages the business, where there's not a no. It's how do we do it differently? How do we get to there? And just imagine what he's done from Tesla to SpaceX to Neuralink. I mean, these companies are changing the world, and they're all kind of converging. PayPal was his first big companies. They're all kind of converging under the umbrella of AI now. So it's just really fascinating. I was listening to it on my walk this morning, so highly recommend it.
What about, do you have a favorite quote?
Yes. So we at AMI, we have a quote that says, I'm not going to get it right off the top of my head. Let's move on. I'll think about it in a second.
Okay. How about a favorite? We're going to throw you way off board then. How about a favorite animal?
A dog.
Okay. Any particular breed?
Hands down. So I've grown up with Dalmatians, so we have Dalmatians.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a really sweet animal. They're kind of like, a running dog, but they're very, very protective of their owners, but super sweet as well.
I've heard people talk about them being similar to Labradors. Have you found that to be?
Very much. A little bit more high strung.
Okay.
Really good.
I wonder if that's part of why they became the fire station's, preferred dog. So
yeah, they were actually they used to run in France next to the carriages of royalty, and then they were taken over by the fire carriages.
I suppose they're highly visible, right? So
yeah, maybe that's why.
Okay. Do you have a favorite place or a favorite thing that you like to do when you need to de-stress? What does Andy McNeill kind of get away from it all? And
yeah, I hike.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time in the north in the mountains, specifically Vermont, which is my jam. And love that place, and just amazing. Just there's nothing better, especially in a high stressful business like we're in, where we're traveling all over the world to big cities all the time. It's nice to get out into nature and do some really, really good cardiovascular hiking.
Sure,
love it with my dogs.
Oh yeah, of course. Why would you not bring dogs?
And my whining kids behind me. Eventually, hopefully they'll like it, but at 12, they're not. No, they're not too excited right now.
Just keep reminding them, why can't you be more like dogs? So that would.
There you go.
So I should tell you too, given that the places that you like to hike, I interviewed a guy years ago who had written a book called The Appalachian Way. That book.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't know the book, but So the Appalachian Trail is one of my bucket list things to do when I've got more time to hike it from North Carolina, all the way, or maybe North Georgia, maybe all the way up to the Canadian border.
Yeah, he talks about it too, that he didn't necessarily do it sequentially. He did different chunks at different times. And
yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
It was fascinating.
I'll have to get the book. Thank you.
No, not a problem.
I'm writing it down right now. The Appalachian.
And it's interesting to hear his story because he talks about it in terms of where his life was at. It's highly personable, as well as just informative about what he found going along. So great stories. I'm a big one on anecdotes, and he has bunches of them. So how about, do you have a favorite you had in your childhood? Something that when you think of or see or smell that it makes you go back to a particularly good time when you're growing up?
I think growing up here in Florida, whenever I'm in the ocean, the memories of snorkeling with my father and seeing the beautiful marine life is something that always comes back to me for sure. So just those great memories. My dad was an avid and took us to the Bahamas all the time to go diving. So I would say that.
Scuba or just snorkel or how?
Mainly snorkel. It's pretty shallow over there, so you really don't need scuba. You can scuba, but there's so much more work to do that, especially with kids. So we would just pick these just unbelievable, beautiful, untouched reefs on the out islands and the northern Apagos, so the northern archipelago of the Bahamas. It's just absolutely spectacular.
Sure. Yeah, hard to not feel relaxed to know.
Absolutely.
Okay, we gave you time. Now here it comes. Favorite quote. What is it?
Okay, I'm going to have to come back to you on that. I'm drawing completely. I'm sitting here trying to write it down, and it's because it's such a passionate, such a great quote. I want to get it right, because it's anonymous, so I can't tell people who even wrote it. So
that's okay. We'll come back. I'm a versatile and fluid kind of guy.
Okay.
So we're not going to sit here and have radio silence while we wait for you to figure out what it is. And hopefully we'll talk about something that'll spring it again, right?
Yeah. I'll jump right in.
All righty. Sounds like a plan. So, Andy, looking at your background and the things that you have accomplished, both professionally and just personally, because it sounds to me, in looking at things, how your career was largely driven from just your personal experience and who you are. I think in one place I read it said that you have a heart for hospitality. Right? So, and how did that come about? How did you discover that you had that heart? How was it manifesting itself?
Well, I think to your point, I think it comes naturally to folks like me. and then to get into the business, I think is a real blessing because you get to do it every day, and it comes natural to you. So my first memory of doing it was like in ninth grade when I joined the student council, and we got to plan all the events for the school, and I just fell in love with it because it just seemed like a great way to make people happy, whether the pep rally or something going on with the football game like homecoming. It was just a lot of fun, and it brought joy to people. So I think that's where it started. And I did that all 4 years high school, and then in college I was very involved in my fraternity. Ended up being in a bunch of different committee chair where we planned events and did events, and again, just making people happy and really doing that. And then as I got into my career, I just found myself naturally turning to that. Mm-hmm. And over the course of my 20s, I was having some really fantastic mentors who were just unbelievable in what they did and how they approached hospitality. And so that allowed me to, kind of form my ground on how we do it here at AMI as an organization, mm-hmm. And deliver to our clients. So I think, I think all of us, if you look back, if you're an accountant, you might really have enjoyed your math classes. If you're an attorney, you might have liked debate. In my case, it was student council and having a great mentor there as well, who really had a passion for, I think, that.
So when I think of that kind of realm of thing, I think of the logistics that are involved in it, and I think of places in which they've been represented, perhaps in it's the person with the clipboard, trying to make sure that everybody gets to the place at the right time, and frankly they come across as control freaks a lot of the time, right? And,
well, a lot of us are, yeah.
And they're not enjoying themselves, and it's hard for them. It's hard for you to. I think watching that. How would anyone enjoy themselves with somebody that's that stressed? And how do you avoid that?
Well, we have one of our core value sets here is never let them see you sweat. So, and that comes from experience, but it also comes from having the right people in the right seat. There are some people that think they're good event planners or meeting planners who are not, and those are the ones that are normally stressed out. And so at AMI, we've, over the course of 22 years, been able to build an organization of people, and we hire based on a very thoughtful skill set. And one of them is being very calm under pressure, because you absolutely have to be. So if you're seeing a stressed person producing an event, they're probably not in the right seat, or hey, something just really, really bad happening.
Sure. And I would think of my experience, again, as a theater person. You're talking about a stage manager. You're talking about a technician.
Very much so, yeah.
Those are the people that, and I work around them a lot still, and it amazes me how, something completely goes south. And there are those people that just stay calm, work the problem, figure it out, get it going as soon as they can. And it's not that they're not, passionate about, we got to get this fixed. They don't have that, as you say, that is freak out. They just stay focused. Right. Do you? And I know a big part of what you talk about in your materials is the relationship build. It strikes me that
that's how we pay the bill around here. We really develop strategies and series of events that help build relationships between our clients and their most important audiences. And those audiences can be students, it can be physicians, it can be other business people, it can be their direct customer, but creating the atmosphere and the place where they can develop those relationships in a positive way, because people do business with people they like and trust, and what better way to do that with being in a room with them and providing value to them.
Sure. What do you do when you have to bring teams together, right? Do you spend time, or do you have to spend time getting the team to coalesce so that they can actually have that combined experience? Because it strikes me very much like an ensemble. When I direct plays, I start out the first rehearsal saying we're only as strong as our weakest link. So if you allow the weakest link to define how this whole thing is going to go, then it's going to be much less fruitious, if you will, than if we embrace that person, embrace ourselves in the process of embracing that person, move forward. What do you do?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think our meeting managers are really, really good at that. They have the experience to educate our clients on the best way to do that, and so that group, that team that's there is going to be a mixture of us, our team members here at AMI, as well as the clients, folks, and then obviously their attendees or their end users. It can be their, like I said, their students, their customers, and so all those people, and having a plan around what you're educating them on, what you're talking to them about.
Sure.
And that definitely takes time to build that trust and that camaraderie to be the team that actually does that. And so we do that over time as we're during the planning process.
One of the things I looked at, and I guess I'm hearing this kind of come through in a lot of what you're saying. I looked at your website at AmericanMeetings.com, and the values page in particular. I like to look at that to see if the proof is in the pudding, if you will, because it's a lot. It's one thing to have core statements; it's another thing to live them. But you have I thought it was interesting that one of the first things you talk about is accountability, that each person's words and actions contribute equally to the end results. We honor our commitments to our clients and to each other. And I'm interested, how do you measure that accountability, not only with your clients, if you're, meeting a client and trying to discuss if you're a good fit with them, but also with your personnel? Is there
So I think from a managerial perspective, you have KPIs, key performance indicators that are set with you and agreed upon with your clients. So when we onboard a new client, we know what metrics are important to you, what deliverables are most important to you, and how can we track those. So from a client side, that's really important. But the most important thing is trust, is building that trust with the client. And the only way you do that is to be accountable for your actions. And so that's why it's 1 versus 1. So it is okay to mess up. We all mess up. And when you're running thousands of meetings like AMI is all over the world, things happen. We can't control whether a plane is late and delayed and, a guest missed their car service. But what we can control is making sure that car service is alerted and they get there and take care of that person as soon as possible. So it's just really important to be accountable and, own up when you mess up. And, don't mess up, you have really, be really committed. And that really goes, Raul, to having the right people in the right seats, is people that enjoy servicing others. And in our business, that's critically important. So if we find someone that we believe is not, a good fit for us at AMI, we try to, let them go as soon as possible, because it's not fair to them and it's not fair to us, and certainly not fair to our clients who are paying for us for our service. We want to make sure that everyone who's involved at AMI has a strong service-related heart and wants to be positive. And
do you find that that's more difficult these days to find, that those people? Are we becoming less and less of a service-oriented nation and more of a serving nation? We talk about the me generation, right? And it strikes me that people are looking to have stuff brought to them instead of wanting to bring things to others. I think it's like I said before we went on air. I think a lot of people in my world, it's almost embedded in them. It's either how they were raised or it's a gene that they have that makes it. So I think from that perspective there, and then just, finding the right people for the right seats, which is a really important philosophy we have here at AMI, is we just don't hire and put someone in there. They have to have that mindset. And we've been able to hone our interview. Our HR team is just fantastic at identifying those people. And even if we make a mistake and hire someone that's incorrect, we have things in place that we can notice that, and the managers are very well trained on noticing what it is. And some people just don't have that mentality, and they're just not going to make it here. So do I see? I don't see it, because we live in a world where it's kind of part of our culture, and so if we do notice it, we get rid of it. But we just have just great service skills. Well, just, open the door. Open the door for someone who comes up. They stand up when someone walks into a room. Pleases and thank you. Humility. All those things really
build a great service professional.
It strikes me that they are people that are well raised. What we would have called good mannered.
Yep.
And perhaps your company is located in Florida. Perhaps your pool is a bit larger than it might be in other areas too, just because you have such a large service industry in Florida. With all the theme parks.
It's really good. I mean, we're a pretty flat organization. We've got people all over the world, but we do have the majority of people here from South Florida. There's about 150 of us, so they're all over the world. They speak different languages. They service different geography, but our core operational staff is in South Florida. And you're right, we have a great service philosophy, a service culture here in South Florida.
So what's the history of hospitality? I mean, I talked a little bit about the word hospitality. As I understand, it comes from a Latin word that meant guest, and referred to the guesting process. But what do you find? Both your company's history and just the history of the whole idea of hospitality.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the hospitality history is really, really interesting. It was common back, and we're going back to, BC. Here, people that would travel mainly for religious purposes, but travel to go on pilgrimages around the world. And it was written very, very early on that it was the expectation that you were to treat them as a guest. And it even went to talk about specifics around that, about how long they could stay, what was offered, what was not. But it was more just a way of living, not necessarily you got paid for it. Obviously, it has grown from there to being a paid service, whether it's Airbnb or what we do, which is meetings management and travel management. So I think from a historical perspective, it's really interesting that you see it early on, then you see it through the Crusades, and how it really comes solidified in culture about travel. People love to travel. People love to meet and get together and share ideas. And then, obviously over the course of the 21st century, it just completely blew up with conferences and trade shows and educational based meetings. So all those things have really grown. But the philosophy is the same, is treating someone with respect and having them enjoy their time with you and, serving them.
So when you're going through the process of developing a destination, do your clients oftentimes have a destination, or is there a process that you're going through with them to discover what the best destination will be, given the dynamic of what they're trying to accomplish and the dynamic of that organization?
Yep. There's two main things, and they're pretty much interchangeable: the date and the location. So those are usually the two most important data points initially, and a destination usually is one of the most important, obviously. And so we take our sourcing managers take them through a process to identify what's important to them about that meeting. Is it the meeting space itself? Is it the destination itself? And that really can depend on what type of event or meeting that you're running, and really finding out what is most important to that client, and then helping ask the right questions to find out what's going to be really, really important for the attendee, and then putting together a package and options for them about them. And we do that in several different ways. And it is a step-by-step process. And then once you do that, you pick the destination based on a whole list of criteria and try to narrow it down to what's most important to make the best choice. But it is definitely an art and a science from a technology that we used to kind of what the client's feeling about why they want to be there. Maybe they had a great experience in a certain destination or a certain hotel, and they want to recreate that experience for their attendees. So we take them through that process and make the right decision with them.
You talk about in the materials that I saw too that there you see it and have the opportunity for companies to build their brand through the hospitality that they're experiencing firsthand.
Absolutely, yeah.
But how does that then transfer into the DNA or the organization?
Yeah, so I think some people are really, really comfortable using meetings and events to establish relationships and grow, and others aren't. We try to educate we do educate our clients on the best way to do that, the best way to establish those relationships by providing that great service. And then the question is can you transfer that into your organization as a whole? Either by having events for your staff and kind of producing them in the same way and treating them as the client, but also building just a customer service mindset into your organization, which is tough to do, especially these days with the amount of volume people are having to deal with, all the technologies they're having to learn, all those things that people can find quite frustrating. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, I think it's really, really important to, understand what your culture is and know that this is a great way to build, a service mindset.
Well, you talk about creating a friendly in-person culture. What does that look like, an in-person culture? Is that I think of in-person as being almost in acting, we talk about that being in the moment. The sign of truly good acting, the sign of truly good play is that the actors and obviously the director have been in the moment of what's going on and trying to build those moments into longer and longer periods of time.
Well, relationships are just easier to do one-on-one, right? So when we say in person, we're talking about, being in the same room with somebody, and you can do a lot of that online, but at the end of the day, real relationship building is one. With that said, COVID changed everything and the technology has allowed us to do it. But at the end of the day, having, dinner with somebody, getting to know them in a very personable way, sitting across from you 3 feet away, there's just a different dynamic. So having that as part of your strategy, we think really, really important. Virtual is absolutely a critical part of any strategy for a company holding virtual meetings, but the in-person ones, we believe, just create a different dynamic that allow for clients to really engage with either their employees or their clients.
So I thought this was a really interesting point on your materials. Some tips that will make you the friendliest person in the room. I want to know if I do any of these things, and if I don't do them, what should I be doing to be the friendliest person? Because I like being the friendliest of anything or the best of anything. There we go.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So what are some of the ones that really stood out to you on that list?
Being interested in other people. Wanting to listen more than I want to talk necessarily. Being upbeat about things, trying to find ways to strategize if someone's telling me about difficult things, not to share my own difficult things necessarily, because I don't think that really works. Your experiences aren't really the same as another person's. It tends to be off-putting. But to at least try to probe with more questions, as much as the person's willing to share. Find a good sense of humor. Trying to just find ways to laugh and connect. To be the top things off my head. I'm sure there's more stuff, but it's like the quote that you're trying to think at this moment.
Yeah. Well, there's so many, right? I think you hit the nail on the head in so many ways when you say that, when you talked about those things about being positive. A couple of things, just a smile, right? Just being there and knowing that your baggage is not their baggage. And when you're, much like you said, from being in the theater, when we step into a meeting, we're stepping onto our stage, and we want to make sure that we're as positive as we can be and deal with those uncomfortable situations as best as we can. And when we can't, we adjust and make the best decision possible at that time. But yeah, absolutely have to have a positive attitude, because that really shines from the beginning.
When you're not having that, everybody has non-positive moments, or they're around, negative Nellies, downer Debbies. What is there a method that you use to shift yourself back into that positive place?
Just taking a second, and if you're in a negative situation, you really try to diffuse the situation and take everybody out of of the situation. So, it's not just about you being in a uncomfortable situation, so it's the other person. So, changing, walking into another room, say, hey, can I come speak? Can we speak in private for a second? That will diffuse the situation immediately. Instead of, doing it in front of a group of other people or in a crowded lobby, step away. That makes a huge difference. And it helps people feel like they're not being looked at, judged, being put on the spot. And so if you really diffuse that situation like that, I think it's one of the best things you can do.
I find, too, that there are people that want to be on stage, and it's their opportunity to kind of display histrionics of some sort, that taking them off of that stage oftentimes can be helpful, too.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, okay, so we're running out of time, and I want to be respectful of your time. Is there an anecdote in an experience that you had, or one of the events that you've gone through, which is probably harder to pick one of those than a quote, but anything you could kind of describe to give the flavor of what a really great event looks like for you as a success?
Well, I think that's hard because, every event has a different goal. Right, it has a different focus. So it really is meeting the achieving the client's goal is what we're trying to do. But the ones I like the best is where you're being inspirational, and you're providing some sort of production that produces a good feeling with the attendees that are sitting there. That can be an inspirational video. It could be a great gift. It could be a quote, something that really sits with people and makes them feel special. So I think it really depends on the event itself, but trying to be as inspirational as possible. And you can be inspirational lots of different ways. But just like you tried to make me feel comfortable today by asking me a bunch of, which is fantastic, by the way. There's lots of different things that you can do to make people feel special and really inspire them in that moment.
Is there a litmus test that you kind of do, or that you even suggest, that will let you know you're on the right track, or that you've accomplished what you set out to?
Yeah, I think just being aware of the body language of your attendees, watching them, how are they responding to what I think, being in the now and understanding that, not focused on necessarily the message that you're communicating, but focused on what the attendee is how the attendee is receiving it, and watching them and then adjust from there.
Are there any resources or things you'd like to point listeners towards that would be helpful if they want to know more, or they want to try to get a meeting organized with you? That would be wonderful. I'm going to talk to my folks and see, can we do this? I want to go to Thailand. I really always want to go to Thailand.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're big fans of LinkedIn, and so we have an American Meetings page there that you can follow or reach out to us, or you can always go to AmericanMeetings.com, which is our main website to reach out to us and learn about how we have this service-based philosophy when we're running meetings and events around the world.
When you have your own podcast too, right, where people can find out more about what's going on there as well. So
yeah, that's Destination Everywhere. You just go to destinationeverywhere.com, and that is a podcast about just venues and destinations we've taken our clients to all over the world, and what we love about that particular place.
Okay, last question. Did you think of your quote? I'm not going to let you off the hook with that. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't let you off the hook. So, paraphrase, anything.
One thing we do say here at AMI is that you should always have a smile and a thoughtful gesture.
Always have I worked at Land's End for a while too, and they talked about you have to have a smile in your voice, right? And I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, what? Come on, but then as time went along, I got to understand that a true smile, and I have to say, the picture of your group that's on the About page, there's like genuine smiles across the whole board. We can tell genuine smiles. I know a genuine smile when I see it, let me tell you. And it's interesting because virtually everyone there has a genuine smile, and there's just a couple of people that look like they're still figuring it out. Like they're not quite sure what this is really going to entail. So and that's
we're blessed. We're blessed, and we have a fantastic team.
Yeah, indeed. Andy, I can't thank you enough for your time. I know you're a busy man, and I really appreciate taking the time to talk with me and our audience.
Well, Raul, thank you for allowing us to talk to your audience and kind of convey our vision for running great meetings and events and how to have a great service mind. We really appreciate it.
Excellent. Folks, we've been talking with Andy McNeill, who is the founder and CEO, are you not, of American Meetings Incorporated?
Yeah, founder and CEO, yeah.
Okay. And he has spent well over 30 years in the hospitality industry. So if you want to know how to be hospitalitying, I don't know what is the word for it? Be a better host in general, right?
Hospitable, maybe?
Yeah, there you go. Hospitable person. Andy's your man. Andy is going to teach you things you probably didn't even know about what that looks like. So I hope you've enjoyed our talk as much as I've enjoyed our talk here on Frame of Reference Profiles and Leadership. And I hope you'll join us again. I hope you will feel welcome to appreciate another episode.